Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome to the Guy Boston Sports YouTube channel. This is a little bit of a different video than what I'm typically used to making here on the channel. If you aren't new here, you'll know that I do my daily NBA player prop parlay videos here on the Guy Boston Sports YouTube channel, along with a couple other things. I do football videos, both college and NFL. I do videos with Ev, the founder of Guy Boston Sports, but mainly I do my daily NBA player prop parlay video series. But with the NBA All-Star break here and no NBA games for the next week, I need some new stuff to do, some different types of content to make. So all week long, you're going to be seeing maybe some different types of videos from me, including one like today's video. So what is today's video all about, you might be asking? Well, this video today is going to be a peek behind the curtain of how I go about picking player props for my daily NBA player prop parlay videos. I threw this idea out on one of those player prop parlay videos a couple weeks ago about would you guys like to see sort of a behind the scenes look of how I go about picking my props, and a lot of people responded, yes, we'd like to see that. So I figure with, again, no NBA videos coming out the next week, this is a great time to go ahead and make this video. So that's what today's video is. I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my daily NBA player prop parlay videos, the process I go through, what tools I use, all that stuff. It's a peek behind the curtain of how the show gets made. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys. Before we dive in, guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. We are already more than halfway there, and with your help, we'll get there even sooner. We have tons of great content here on the channel. We have my player prop videos. We have Ev's daily NBA picks. Again, when it's football season, we have a ton of stuff. MLB's coming up in the near future. I'll be doing MLB player prop parlays. Ev does his daily MLB picks. We have March Madness content coming up. We're gonna have maybe some golf content coming up. Who knows? So a lot of sports betting content coming up in the near future, and stuff that we already do now. So make sure hit that subscribe button. Don't miss a single video. Without further ado, guys, let's get into today's video. So the first thing I want to say right off the bat is, in my opinion, the most important part of player prop betting across any sport, not just NBA. You talk about NHL, MLB, NFL, all that stuff. Is research. I think research is king. Research is key when it comes to betting player props. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the eye test has its spot, right? You do obviously, I think, need to have some knowledge of the game. You know, obviously it helps if you watch the games, if you're knowledgeable about players and stuff like that. But I think most important, honestly, is analytics, data, trends, patterns, all these things. Realistically, and it's funny because if you asked me this about a year or two ago, I would have never said this. But realistically, you don't even need to really watch the games to get a decent idea of where to go with some of your player props. Like, if you just keep track of the data and you look at the analytics behind it all, you could actually be a decent bettor without even actually watching the games. I don't recommend that personally. Like, I watch the games. I'm knowledgeable in basketball. I've been a basketball fan my whole life. Any sport I'm betting on, typically I know what I'm doing, or I'm a fan of the sport. So I wouldn't recommend just going off of numbers, but the numbers paint most of the picture when it comes to not just player prop betting, but sports betting in general. So when it comes to my player prop parlay videos, I put a lot of time in with research and whatnot. And it all depends. It depends on the day, right? If I'm doing a 3-leg parlay, for example, I'm going to spend at least a minimum of 20 minutes. Now, some people may look at that and go, whoa, 20 minutes for a 3-leg parlay? You're wildin'. Perhaps I am. Everybody has their own methods and their own ways of doing things. I know some YouTubers who maybe they only spend like 10 minutes, and some people even said as much. Professional sports bettors who only take maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and they're able to find a bet they like. Kudos to you. That's just not how I do it. Specifically when it comes to player props, I like to take my time and look at the data and do my proper research before placing my bets. Especially as someone who gets behind the camera and I share picks with people, I don't want to just half-ass it and just give you guys picks that I'm not even so sure of. I want to make sure that if I'm giving you guys picks, they're solid. I believe in them. There's data to back them up. I want to make sure that I'm doing my job. I pride myself on my work, and I don't want to just be out here giving you guys bad picks, because at that point, I'm going to lose viewers. We're going to lose subscribers. I want to build this channel up even more and build my videos up even more. And the best way to do that is to win. And how do you win? By putting in the work. Not to get philosophical, but it applies to everything in life. You want to lose weight, you got to work out, and you got to eat better. You know, you want to get the promotion at work, you got to work harder, you got to put in more hours. The same thing with sports betting. You want to hit more bets, you got to put in more time with research, and you got to study more and learn the ins and outs of sports betting more. So for some of my parlay videos that are like 5 legs, like our Freaky Friday parlays that are 5-leg parlays, typically speaking, I can spend up to 45 minutes to even an hour sometimes doing research to make sure that I'm giving you guys good props. So research is key. That is the number one thing to remember here, is that research is key. If you feel like you're spending too much time on it, you're probably not. There's no such thing as too much research when it comes to sports betting and player props. Now, the next question you might ask is, Tasso, what do you use for your sports betting research? What do you do? Do you just go on Google and look up statistics? No, I have about 4 websites that I typically use primarily every day. I rotate the 4. Sometimes I use some more than others. And sometimes I use more than those 4 websites. I might go on Google and look up some stuff. Maybe I'll use something like Action Network or ESPN or any, it's never always the same, but typically there are 4 websites that I use that I'm going to show to you in just a second. So let's go ahead and do a screen share here, guys. We're going to share my screen. And this website that you're seeing right in front of you is truthfully the tool that I use the most when it comes to sports betting. Move my screen over so you guys can get a better look here. This is Outlier. It is the best sports betting tool on the market. And if you watch my player prop parlay videos, you know that they are the sponsor of every NBA player prop parlay video that I do. And I say this all the time, I know they're a sponsor of the channel and sponsor of the show, but even if they were not a sponsor, I would still use Outlier every single day. They are truly the best sports betting tool on the market. We do have a special link in the description below. You get a 7-day free trial to try it out for yourself. If you want to, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of Outlier stuff in this video that you can use. So maybe after this video you're convinced. If not, it's all cool. If you are, though, there is a special link there to try it out for 7 days. You got nothing to lose. So Outlier is where the majority of my sports betting research comes to. I would say up to 75% of my daily sports betting research is done on Outlier. Before Outlier, I was probably spending more than an hour researching props and data and stuff. But this tool consolidates it all. It puts it all in one place. It really is fantastic. But it is not the only website that I use. The second website that I use the most is StatMuse. It is a free service mostly. There is a pro subscription service. I think it's $20 a month to unlock everything they have to offer. But StatMuse, they have stats for every kind of sports league, specifically NBA is what we use it for here. But they give a lot of information, a lot of sports statistics. Specifically what I use this for is for head-to-head data. Now, Outlier does provide head-to-head matchup data to see what a player's history is versus a certain team. But the problem with Outlier, one of the flaws of Outlier, I would say, is that they only go back a certain distance, like maybe 2 years. Whereas StatMuse, you can look up a player's entire career numbers versus a team. For example, if you wanted to see, for example, the Bucks tonight are playing the Grizzlies. You wanted to see what Giannis's career stats are versus Memphis. You plug it in, Giannis career versus Grizzlies, and it'll show you not just his career averages, but it'll show you individual game logs for every single game that he has played versus the Memphis Grizzlies. So it's a pretty good tool. Again, it kind of fills in the blanks of where Outlier misses some data when it comes to the head-to-head matchups. StatMuse can help me fill that up, and they offer a bunch of other stats and information as well beyond that, but I primarily use it for head-to-head data. The third website I use the most for sports betting research is Basketball Reference. They literally are the best database of sports statistics around. They also have like Football Reference, Baseball Reference, all that stuff. But literally every statistic that you could possibly look for is here. I don't go here too much. Again, the two that I use the most are Outlier and StatMuse. I will come here sometimes if I'm looking for averages, if I'm looking for maybe some advanced stats when it comes to shooting percentages and stuff like that. Literally every statistic known to man is on here. They also have individual game logs for pretty much every game a player has ever played, so that is also nice sometimes. And the fourth website that I use the most, although I will be honest, this website of late I haven't been using too much, is Fantasy Pros. Now, what I primarily use this for is for defensive stats versus individual positions. They do a pretty good job on Fantasy Pros of compiling all that. The only reason why I don't use it as much anymore is because Outlier has gotten a lot more accurate with their defensive metrics versus individual positions. So I typically just get that data off of Outlier now, but Fantasy Pros does have it, and they do have a little bit more. Again, I haven't really been using this too much, but for example, if you don't have Outlier, Fantasy Pros is a good backup. They give you defensive stats versus, like, for example, you want to see what the Warriors' defensive numbers are against point guards. They have it. You want to see what the Miami Heat, how they stack up defensively versus the power forward position. They have it. So that's the use of Fantasy Pros. They have a way more other stuff on there, but that's primarily what I use it for. So that's the fourth website that I use the most here. But again, jumping back to the Outlier screen, Outlier is where the majority of my research comes in. So looking at Outlier, when you first sign into Outlier, it will take you to the trends screen first, which is a nice, useful tool, but not what we're looking at right now. You go down a couple of pegs here on the left side of the screen, you'll see this button here, which is the player prop tab. So now we are in the props tab, and you see here, there's a lot of stuff to look at. So guys, there's a lot of data to look at here, and if you don't put specific filters in, you're gonna get overwhelmed with all the data. There's so much in here. What I like to do is I filter, I narrow it down, I water down the props until I get exactly what I'm looking for. So my first step when using Outlier, when picking player props, is I'm gonna go to the right side of the screen here, and you'll see props available. So in total, there are 2,742 player props out there. Right now, there are 1,347 on this page. But when I click alternate lines, now every single player prop is available. So right now on this screen, if you scroll down here, there are 2,742 player props available. And I mean, I could just scroll for hours on this thing. There's so much available there. And there's only 3 games on tonight. So imagine when there's a full NBA slate, it gets pretty overwhelming. So I'm going to keep the alternate line tab activated because I do like to bet alternate lines. I know some people don't like it because depending on the sportsbook you use, it won't be available to you. But alternate lines are a great way to get hits. It takes some of the risk out of it. I typically like to use alternate lines and a lot of my parlays to get better lines for our bets. Because sometimes you like a player, you like the spot, it's just a point or two more than you would like to bet it at. Take the alternate line, you bring it down a notch, you give yourself a better chance of hitting. All right, so now that we've activated the alternate line, the next thing I do is I go over here to the odds tab, and this basically narrows down, it sorts and filters down what I'm looking for. So right now, if you leave it as it is, you get odds of minus 20,000 to plus 9,500. So typically, if I'm doing a 5-leg parlay, what I will usually set this to is like minus 215, minus 220, because when you're doing more legs, I don't mind putting some high value odd parlays in there. Props, excuse me. For example, for today's video that I'm doing for you guys for Thursday, we only have 3 games. I'm only doing a 3-leg parlay because there's not a ton available to me. So instead, I'm probably going to go ahead and put it just to minus 200. All right, so now we're at minus 200 there. All right, and we're going to go ahead and close. So now it's going to filter the props down. So we're only going to see odds of minus 200 or higher. Now, down here in the left bottom side of the screen, if you click this will filter what sports books you want them to show. Now, typically for the videos, I like to leave them all on. So people who maybe you're betting on Prize Picks, maybe you're betting on Underdog or BetMGM or Caesars or DraftKings or FanDuel, it shows you a little bit of everything. But let's say you only want FanDuel, or for me, you know, if you watch my videos, you know I love DraftKings. Let's say I just want DraftKings. I'll go ahead and I'll deselect the ones I don't want, and now it's filtering to DraftKings props. All right, guys. So now we have the alternate lines activated. It's minus 200 to plus 9,500, and again, you can go ahead and switch things in when you click on the individual players. So we're starting to filter this down. Now you can switch it to over and under. I don't do this. I mean, typically I do prefer to bet overs more than unders. You probably have noticed that if you watch my videos. But I don't like to limit myself. I like to take a look at the unders as well. So if you don't want to bet them or you're looking for specific over or under, you can filter that. Like right now, I click that. Now it's only going to show us overs. You X out of that, and we're back to total. So I like to leave that both over and under so I get a full view. Over here, it shows you all the players. So there's 33 players that we have to pick from for player props. If you're looking for specific players, you can obviously go ahead and search them. If you want to filter this to, let's say, I just want props available for Santi Aldama, for Giannis, and for Jordan Clarkson. Now we're showing all the props for those players. And you see here, still a lot, 153 props available for those 3 guys. So click out of that. So now we have all players are available to us. This part right here is important, and we're going to have a disagreement in philosophy, I'm sure, with a few people, but this is what I typically do. So you look at the left side of the screen here. So as of right now, we have over 1,800 props still available. It's just way too much thrown at us. We have to narrow it down to find some more value, to find some better hits. I typically, so if you go to the left side of the screen here, these are all the statistical categories that you can filter to look for. So, I mean, there's a lot of them. You can even do fantasy score, free throws, turnovers, three-pointers, all the three-pointer attempt. Now, not all these are going to be available on every sportsbook. What I do for my videos and my player props, I put it to filter points plus assists, points plus rebounds, points plus rebounds and assists, and rebounds and assists. And that's it. I don't filter anything else on there. I don't want to look at any of these other props. I don't look at first half bets. I don't look at quarter bets. I don't look at blocks, steals, turnovers, Even stuff that people love to assists and rebounds individually, I don't bet them. Personally, I just think there's too many variables when it comes to just individual assists, blocks, steals, 3-pointers made, turnovers. Those are the props I see lose more often than not. And again, we're at a 75% hit rate on our props this year. Yes, we don't always hit the parlays, but overall, the props I've been giving out have been pretty darn good. And part of that is because I switched to this method. And a lot of, if you look at some of the bigger YouTubers that give out sports betting picks, typically they follow this same pattern of just betting points, points plus assists, points plus rebounds plus assists, rebounds plus assists. Those are the props that have the higher hit rates. And there's a lot less variables to those. So that's why I stick with those. We're looking for hits. Yes, is it fun to bet 3-point props? Absolutely. The thrill when you cash that and you see the guy hit the 3 that wins the bet, it's awesome. But when it comes to our parlays, I've noticed, in beginning of the year when I was doing the videos when I first started, I was putting those props in there. Those were the ones that always lost me the parlays. So that's what I stick with. It narrows it down. Now we have 859 props. I just wiped out 1,000 props. Now we have 859 props to choose from. Now we narrowed it down a little bit, and now we can go ahead and start taking a look at what's available. Now, we are ready to build. Now that I have all the filters in here, I have everything I'm looking for. Now we are ready to build our parlay. Now on the right side of the screen here, guys, you can sort these by hit rate. So example, you can sort these so that it filters it by hit rate of last 5 games, last 10 games, last 20 games, head-to-head, 2023 hit rate, 2022 hit rate, implied probability, odds, lines, defensive ranks. There's so many ways you can go ahead and get a look at the data. So what I usually do to start is I click the 2023 season. So I can go ahead and see. Sometimes you'll see some trends I've just been hitting all year round that are just too easy that you have to take. John Collins, this is how I started finding his line. I kept betting it consistently, was because I'd click on this and I'd say, wow, he's hitting this at an 83% hit rate. Why am I not betting this more? So first and foremost, what I typically do, I put it to 2023, and you'll see here the hit rate 79%, 78%, and it goes down. Obviously, it descends. And you see a bunch of the props, and you can see what their season hit rate is. That's typically where I start. So typically, I'll go through that for a little bit. I'll go down. What I typically look for is I obviously look at the 2023 hit rate, and then I move left. So I'm going to look at it and say, okay, well, he has a head-to-head hit rate of 100%. That's pretty good. Last 20 hit rate, 70%. Pretty good. You want to see as much green along this line as you can. So this first prop, this Vinnie Williams under 11.5 rebounds plus assists prop, actually a lot of data to support it. 79% hit rate this year, 100% hit rate against Milwaukee. Solid numbers. Keep going down. Jonathan Kuminga under 26.5 points plus rebounds. Again, 78% hit rate. He's hit it in 100% of his last 5 games. Not as great as the first one, and you keep going down here, and what I do is I'll keep scrolling until I see something that really pops out. Usually if I see a lot of green, that's what I typically have to click on and do a little further research. So for example, I'll go ahead and take this Jonathan Kuminga one, and we'll go ahead and take a look here and see. So again, like I saw in the data, 2023 hit rate, 78% hit rate, 40 of 51 games. Jonathan Kuminga has cashed this under of 26.5 points plus rebounds. Pretty good data. And you can either click on the tabs up here, or you can just look down here. Like I said, last 10 hit rate, 60%. Last 20, 55%. Last year, 2022, he had a 97% hit rate on this under. So the data's not too bad. You look at the head-to-head matchup. He's hit it in 3 of his last 4 games against Utah. So not too bad for Kuminga. The data's there. So typically, I'll look at that first. I'll look at his minutes played. All that stuff. Down below, they do show insights. So Jonathan Kuminga has failed to exceed 25.5 points plus rebounds in 4 of his last 5 games on the road. So that's an interesting stat to throw at you. So like I said, I'll typically look at all this data. I'll look at it, I'll look at all this information, and then I'll look at the right side of the screen here. I'll look at the defense. I'll look at defensive matchup, and injuries are the 2 that I look at next. So with defensive matchup here, overall, you'll see not a really great matchup. The Jazz are actually a bottom 5 defensive team in the NBA in terms of points allowed. So in terms of cashing his under, you'll see it's red because it's not great. And I'll go ahead, okay, power forward. Not great, right? They give up the most points in the NBA to opposing power forwards, middle of the road in rebounds allowed. So overall, it's not a good defensive matchup for him to cash his under. And then I'll go ahead and look at the injury report, and there's nothing really there, so this really doesn't matter. Only Chris Paul's out, so nothing really there to look at. But if we go ahead and scroll and look at his last 10 games, you see they just played last night on February 14th. So they're playing on a back-to-back. How many minutes did Kuminga play last night? Almost 35 minutes. So playing on the back-to-back, he just played 35 minutes last night. That is something to take into consideration. But I probably would avoid this prop because although he's been cashing the under and the data is there, I don't like seeing that defensive matchup. This team gives up the most points to opposing power forwards. And Kuminga, he has cashes. You see here on the left side of the screen. Couple reds. He's had some pretty big games of late. So I don't really like this spot here for Kuminga. So we'll back out of that one and we go back to the screen. But just to show you what my next step would be. So I'd go through the 2023 hit rates, right? If at that point I don't find what I like, or if I need more props, I don't find all of them that way, then we'll go ahead and switch it to head-to-head, right? So we'll go ahead and see, okay, which players have a great hit rate versus opposing teams. And you'll see here, Vinny Williams, he cashes under 100% of the time versus Milwaukee and so forth. And it's kind of the same principle, right? I'm going to go down this list. I see all the great 100% hit rates, but I'm also looking across the whole line for more green. This DeAndre Ayton one, for example, right here, not too bad. You'll see here over 15.5 points plus assists. 80% his last 5 games, 80% his last 10. 50 on the season, 50's last 20, not too bad, but 100% head-to-head. Defensive matchup, though, the Timberwolves are pretty good, so not great. And basically what I'll do is I'll just keep working my way across, and then, if I don't see what I like there, I'll go to the last 20 games, and I'll filter it there, and you see 75%, and I'll go down the list, and I'll try to see, again, if I want to see as much green across this line here as I can. It doesn't help me. Yes, okay, he's hit it at a 75% hit rate, but 0% head-to-head, 50% his last 10 games. That's not great. You want to see a lot of green across the board. This Keontae George one, for example, not bad. Under 8.5 rebounds plus assists, 75% hit rate his last 20 games, 67% on the year, 100% head-to-head, 70% his last 10 games, 60% his last 5. On the Warriors, not a yellow in the defensive rankings. 50% implied probability. So you see there, that's not a bad one. So, and that's what I do. And then, like I said, if I can't find it there, we'll go to the last 10, and we'll just keep doing the same thing until I find what I like. And like I said, I'm not going through my full process, but I'll click on a player. I'll go ahead and look at the individual stats. I'll go over to StatMuse. This prop apparently is not available. But that's the process overall that I do. And like I said, I will do this for 30 plus minutes usually. Like I said, if it's a 3-leg parlay and it's quick, sometimes the data will jump right out to you right away, and it's only like a 20-minute process. Sometimes this takes up to an hour. Like I said, I will just keep playing with the filters. I'll just keep changing how I'm sorting it. I'll keep looking at the players, and then sometimes I'll even click on it and look at their alternate lines. So for example here, we'll look at this. Okay, I don't know why all the Vinny Williams props are not available. We'll go ahead and look at this Kuminga one. Right, so this Kuminga one here, under 20.5 points. So the data is pretty strong. 76% hit rate this season. Again, though, like we said before, we don't like the matchup. I can go ahead here and look at the alternate lines, and it gives you everything that's available. So maybe I want to switch it to his over. You know what? It's a really good defensive matchup for him in terms of scoring. Maybe I'll go ahead and take him over 16.5 points instead. I'll change the line, and you see here the data will change. We don't love that. Even though the good defensive matchup, the data is not fantastic. But go back to alternate lines. We can go ahead and make this under 22.5 points, and now it's an alternate line, minus 220. Okay, and the data is even stronger now, right? 84% hit rate. He's hit it in 43 out of 51 games this season. So again, I play around with it a lot, and I look at the injuries and stuff like that. But that's generally the process that I go through. So yeah, guys, that's essentially the gist of it. Like I said, I could go way more in depth, I'm sure. But this video is already running a little long, and I could spend hours talking about this stuff. But that's basically what I do. Like I said, I play with the filters on here. I try to narrow it down. I'll click on the players. I'll look at all the data. And typically, like I said, what I'm looking for is a lot of green here. The more green, the better. And like I said, it's a mixture of everything, and it's rare you're gonna find a perfect one. But that is it, guys. That is my whole entire process of how I bet NBA player props. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more videos like this one, feel free to sound off in the comments. Criticism is accepted and it is appreciated. But yeah, that is basically, it's as simple as I could possibly make it for what I do. Like I said, there is more that goes into it. I spend a lot of time doing this stuff, but that is on a simple level. That is my process. I wake up, I shower, I eat breakfast, I hop on my computer, I do this, I go through Outlier. I spend, like I said, between 25 and like an hour, 25 minutes and an hour going through all this, playing with the filters, looking at all the data, cross-checking numbers across these websites. And then basically when I see something I just really like it and the data's strong, good matchup, you know, and sometimes if the matchup's not good, the head-to-head's got to be good. You know what I mean? Like if the matchup's not fantastic, but the head-to-head's 100, for example, right here, the Brandon Podziemski one, right? Not a great matchup in terms of defense, but 100% head-to-head hit rate. Those are the kind of things that I look for. But guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. I'll see you all later.